yo, it's your boy Ancient Albatross here again with the Cypher Unlimited crew. We have our usual suspects of AD or Alpha Dean. We have Spiggs 18 or Anthony. And just as a quick reminder, if you haven't already, be sure to follow us here on Twitch or subscribe to us over on YouTube. It'll be a great help for our channel. And yeah, without further ado, Dean, what are we doing here tonight?
We got an interview tonight with none other than the Okayest DM, Dennis Fleming, game designer, actual play performer, producer of tabletop RPGs, YouTuber, and so on and so forth. He's based out of Minnesota. He's been a guest speaker and performer on several tabletop RPG channels and has hosted several guests on his own channel. As a lover of stories, he is always looking for new and better ways to tell them. And Dennis currently has a Kickstarter going for the Sagas system, which stands for System and Genre Agnostic System. Setting and Genre Agnostic System. Excuse me, I misspoke. But Dennis, welcome. Why don't you say hello to everybody out here in the interwebs who came to hang out with us tonight?
Hello, everybody out there in the dark, deep, whatever basement you're calling us from.
Hey, Dennis, welcome to the CU. First off, from a fellow Okayest GM, I appreciate the title. Us OK GMs have to stick together. Do you prefer Dennis, or you want to go by Okayest DM? Which
you can call me Dennis.
All right, so Dennis, welcome to the CU, and for artists that may not know, we all are traditionally a Cypher crowd. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your gaming experience.
Well, don't get too mad, but my gaming experience has not expanded to Cypher yet. But I started out, the story I used to tell is that I started out, right when 5th edition became a thing. And I said, who wants to run this for me? Who wants to run this for me? I was looking through the book and I realized, oh, cool, this is a game. We can actually play this. This isn't a story. This isn't my typical fantasy novel that I was obsessed with at the time. And I'm like, okay, we can start telling our own stories. This is awesome. And I could not find anybody who wanted to do this with me. They're like, but I don't want to be in charge. I'm like, fine, I'll be in charge. All right. So I immediately started out as the Forever DM and have not gone back. Yes, I've played, but it just doesn't hit the same. It doesn't taste right. That wasn't actually my beginning of TTRPGs. Because a couple years ago, I dug out this deep buried memory of when I was in, I think, middle school. My dad took me to a local game store to try it out because he had played it when he was in school. And he's like, my son's gonna love this. He's gonna go bananas for this stuff. And we get to the game store and we start playing. I think it was 4th edition at the time. And I had prepared my rogue character and I was so ready to go. And it was maybe 20 minutes into the first session. And this was for one of those official ones, Adventuring Academy?
Adventure League.
Yeah. Yes, Adventurers League. Thank you. And so we were playing this official, there was a GM that was there and we were like one of 7 or 8 different tables in the space. And the big bad of the whole thing showed up and I had jumped in this middle of this episode, very close to the beginning. And I was like maybe level 4 and the big bad shows up and starts monologuing and we roll initiative and I, being the rogue, got first. I run up to the big bad, stab and miss, and the big bad on the immediate next turn rolls a natural 20 and crits me, drops me to 0 in 1 hit, and I'm down. And I, over the next couple rounds of combat, I just failed death save, failed death save, failed death save. I'm done. That was my first experience, and it was the worst. I ran in, got killed, and didn't get to do anything. And I was like, this game sucks. I'm never playing again.
How old were you?
I was in middle school, like 6th, 7th grade at the time.
Yeah, that would
I'm
definitely
so
be
glad I rediscovered it.
That would definitely do it. I would have probably had a really poor, bad taste in my mouth for it too, especially in a situation like that.
It's curious
Mhm.
that you started with 5e. Did you jump into original content originally, or did you start off with like the Horde of the Dragon Queen, like one of the adventures?
I don't remember the actual adventure that I started with. It was some free PDF that I had downloaded. It was like I don't remember the name of it, but it was set in the city Phlan, Phlan.
Oh,
And
yeah, that's one of the that's the adventure at the back of the book for the starter set. For
Oh
the
yeah,
starter set.
that makes
yeah.
perfect sense.
Phandalin, right?
No, not Fandelver, Flan.
Flan.
Yeah, Flan is the what. There's Fandelver and then there's Flan.
That's three desserts.
But yeah, that's the one I started with, and after running through that adventure, I'm like, I could probably write something better than this, so I just started homebrewing from there. And since then, I don't think I've run a single pre-written anything. I've been doing all my own stuff because that's where the fun is for me.
Awesome.
That is absolutely facts.
Yeah, well, you're in good company because you run a bunch of guys that are all GMs 99.9% of the time. Only time we
Hell
play
yeah.
is when we play with each other. So before we get into
So that's
this,
such a big mood.
I was just saying, before we get into this, great and exciting project on Kickstarter, before Anthony goes and says something about the statement I just made, you have a YouTube channel. Can you tell your audiences
Yes.
about what goes on the Okayest GM channel and what sort of videos you post there?
Hi, I'm Dennis. I'm the Okayest DM, and I make mistakes running games so you don't have to. That's how I start the videos, and then ending them with everything is going to be okay. The original idea around the Okayest DM YouTube channel was I wanted to there's tons and tons of channels out there of like, this is a really good idea for D&D, and I'm like, okay, but did you try it? And more often than not, I could tell the answer to that was no. So there was all sorts of theory crafting, like, this would be cool if you did this. Okay, so actually do it. So I started taking ideas from those videos and putting them through their paces at my own table. And my YouTube channel is where I tell you stories about whether or not those things worked. So delegating tasks normally reserved for the DM to the players, like tracking initiative and monster health. There's a couple other things that I remember going that those two went well, but there's some things that have not gone well. Like there's a conversation about flanking in D&D being like too overpowered and too common. Like there's plenty of other ways to get advantage. So I suggested it to my table and immediately got backlash. Like maybe we should not there's plenty of other ways to get advantage. Why do we need flanking? They're like, "But I like my flanking. It's like the only thing I do." And I'm like, "Okay, we'll keep flanking."
See, I would have said if that's the only thing you do, then try something else. So
And those players since have grown into, like they've started experimenting with other things, and now we might try it again. I don't know.
So I have a really quick question, like an add-on to that. Do you have you ever tried using any of those builds? Like you see the people on there on YouTube and they're saying, "Oh, how would you build Iron Man in D&D?" Or how would you have you ever taken any of those builds and tried them out, see how they worked?
As a forever DM, no, but I've had players that have done that. I had one specific player who always came to the table with like this really cool idea for a new character. Like every single session, it was something different. I'm like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna schedule a different time, like a one-on-one, where it's just you and me. You are going to bring all of those characters and run all of them at once in like this arena combat, all right? Because it's clear that these characters are like, there's one really cool mechanic that you want to try out, and once you've done that, you're bored with the character. And I was right. So he got to run all of those, and I got to try out a ton of new monsters that I had no place for in any of my stories. That I looked at the mechanics and I said, this monster's really cool. So he got to try a bunch of, like unique character builds, and I got to try out a bunch of monster stat blocks that I thought were cool. And it worked out. And we did like 2 or 3 of those over the years.
Nice.
I was that guy when I was in junior high that I would fall in love with a character every week and want to switch my. So I can definitely understand your friends' take on it. But let's talk about why we're here. The Sagas. Is it the Saga system or just Saga?
It is setting and genre agnostic system. So Sagas.
Okay. Yeah, I always like add system to the end of it, so I was saying Saga.
No, I honestly I do too. I mean, it's a needlessly complicated name. If we're nerds. We love a good acronym. But Sagas is like every single word has more than 6 letters. Like that's pushing the limit.
A great acronym, by the way, and it's designed for you to build any character for any setting or genre without requiring you to memorize a lengthy set of rules. You had me at hello, like that. That's what I'm looking for in the game. It also says it has intense combat with little math, which I'm also a big fan of. Can you tell us a little bit about what's the core resolution mechanics if it's very easy to play?
So this is not like your typical D20 system. The dice that are used are D6, D8, D10, and D12. There are no modifiers either. So once you roll, you roll. You don't have to add or subtract anything from that. The way you tell whether your character is better or worse at something is by getting a different die. And since this is a roll under system where a 1 on an attack roll would be a crit, a better die would be like you get to use a D6 on this one. And that which die you use depends on the choices you make in character creation. The abilities you have, the training you've gone through that can allow you to get better dice, or in some cases worse dice. The base die for Sagas is a D10, but there's a part of character creation that we'll get into in a sec here, I'm sure. But it is like, it's called the struggles, and you have to take at least 2 during character creation, and they either prevent you from making a check, period, or force you to use a D12 whenever you make a check where that applies. So like an example would be if you have bad hearing and you're trying to listen to something, you're going to have to use a D12. There's a couple other like weird ones that get really, really popular. For one of them is Chatterbox. In order to have a short conversation, you need to make a check to do so. There is Impulsive Theft, where if you see something lying around, you have to make a check not to take it. There's Anarchist, where whenever you make a interaction with an authority figure, you have to make a check, and if you fail, you have to disobey them. There's a lot of really, really cool struggles that you can pick from or make your own when you're building your character.
So you said there's different die. Every character rolls different dice for different. So what's an average check? So if I'm rolling a D12, what would an average check be that I would have to get?
Average check would be like a 5 or a 6. That would be the average difficulty.
D12.
So
right?
if you're doing a D12, that's like 50-50 chance you're not going to get it.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, that sounds awesome.
And yeah, it does. And I think you've been spying on me because that chatterbox, that's like my problem. I go off on tangents.
There's so many people that say that they see Chatterbox and I'm like, cool, I can build myself.
What's the highest die you roll?
D12.
Oh, D12 is the
D12.
highest. Okay.
Yeah, you said D12, D10, D8, and D6.
Okay.
Yep, just those
So
4.
it's everything except for a 20-sider. And if you really want to
And
make
no 20 side and
no,
no 4 side, no caltrops here.
yeah, no caltrops. But I mean, if you wanted to make people's life difficult, I guess you could throw a 20 in there for some reason.
Like, you're really not going to get this. Get out that 20-sided die.
It's a little worse.
Exactly. So, we've been talking about this, and I've looked at the Kickstarter page, like I told you before we started. I had already backed this, didn't even realize I had backed it, because I love to, theory. So the one thing I noticed was that character creation is supposed to be fast and fun to build your favorite character. Can you tell us a little bit about character creation?
Oh, yeah. First, thank you for backing. That's huge to me. But character creation is, you can learn the rules and create a character both on your own in 10, 15 minutes. It's super simple. So for character creation, you need to, at level 1, you get 2 health and 2 effort. And we'll get into effort in a second. You also get 2 traits, which if this was akin to D&D, it'd be like racial features. They don't like get better as you level up. They're like things about you, like maybe what species you're playing. Like if you're playing a mouse, you would have a good smell and you'd be small or something like that. Then there are the struggles, which I mentioned. You also have to pick 2 of those. And then you get to pick 3 talents, and these are like the substitution of what classes would be, because there's no classes in the system. You mix and match individual character. You get 3 of those, and those will level up with you how you choose when you level up. You could make better the ones that you already have, or you could pick new ones at rank 1. Then you get to pick 2 pieces of equipment, and you're done. That's it. That's character creation.
Do you have separate traits according to the genre? Because you mentioned mouse, which is very intriguing, that you could pretty much play anything. Will you have examples in the book for, hey, I want to run sci-fi, but I've never run sci-fi before? Is there like a help process to, give people examples of traits?
A couple. They're spread throughout the book in like footnotes, where there's a note that you get to flavor these abilities however you want to. So one of the cool things about Sagas is that all of the abilities, the traits, the struggles, the talents, the equipment, everything is super vaguely worded. So control fire, for example, would be the same mechanic whether you were a fire mage, whether you were a flamethrower wielding crazy guy from like a diesel punk, sort of like Mad Max. Both that guy and the fire mage would both use the exact same mechanics in control flame. But those are 2 wildly different, vibes and characters and worlds.
For someone who's never played Cypher system, you sure have the Cypher philosophy down pat.
I kind of felt that coming in. Like I was browsing through the server and I'm like, wow, yeah, those 2 are so wildly different from each other. Same rule set.
Yeah.
Sagas is very much the same.
Yeah, I think a lot of people on our server is gonna really dig Saga because it does have a very similar like mindset to run and be as a player. Because Cypher does require a lot of flavoring what abilities do, and it seems like Saga follows that same philosophy, which is awesome.
Yeah, I think
we've
that's
had a lot of fun reflavoring stuff.
I think that's one of the things that makes for a good rules light system is, or you know, simplifying rules is realizing that the mechanics don't all need to doesn't need a different mechanic for every little thing. You know,
Right.
you know, because the majority of what you're doing is like within the theater of the mind anyway. So you're envisioning a fireball, but you know what? Why couldn't it be an exploding ball of ice? You know, do the same thing. So that's
Yep,
like pretty
exactly.
awesome. I like it. I like it a lot.
Um, you've assembled a pretty, I mean, for lack of a better term, a great team for this project. One of which is our good friend Ken Hupp from the CU server. Can you tell us who else is working on this project and at what capacities?
Yeah, for sure. The person that I've been working with the most and longest is definitely our artist, Rook Zero. He also is on Twitch and YouTube. He does 2 times a week. He does character drawings, just like from chat suggestions, where he'll do line drawings of, you know, roll dice on this list of 40 that he got this week, and you know, see what comes up, what he gets to draw. And he's super chill guy, and I commissioned him to do the cover art pretty early on, and he's been very, very helpful. Like, he's taught me a lot about graphic design in general. Like, I make up a promo and I'm like, this sucks, can you look at it and tell me why? And he's like, yeah, it sucks for these 3 reasons, and here's how to fix it. I'm like, yes, you're amazing, thank you. So Rook's been amazing, and he is going to be doing all of the character interior art for the book that we're publishing. And the next person that is on our list is our project manager, Angie. She is a project manager, you know, in real life. I say in real life, this is real life, but like, she gets paid money to manage projects. And she is also working on a thing of her own called Mimicnomicon, which has, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's like the Draconomicon or the Necronomicon, except it's all mimics. And some of the stuff I've seen from that has been fantastic. But she's been very, very helpful, giving us like a list and keeping us on track, to make sure that we get the stuff done that needs to get done in time. And we'd be so far behind without her. And last but certainly not least is our much needed editor, Andrew. He's not around. He's not a content creator, but he also does like copy editing for a living. And I've had many a late call with him, spending hours just going over this, the game that I had written. And he's like, okay, it would be better organized like this. Phrasing would work better this way. And I'm like, okay, you're right. Yep, all these make sense. And he's been teaching me a lot about, you know, writing in general and, you know, organization and all that stuff. And that has been also very, very helpful. And like you mentioned, there's Ked. He's just kind of around, I guess.
Yeah, he just shows up.
Yeah, he shows up and harasses people all the time. Makes smart remarks. You know those Canadians with those really smart mouths and those smart comments. Hey.
How many pages are you shooting
But
for?
seriously though, Ked, you have been amazing throughout this whole process. You are as enthusiastic about this project as I am, and I'm the one that created it. And just like the little bit of work that you've put into it already, I'm addressing him because he's in chat right now, in case people watch this later. It's been fantastic. It's so pretty. Like, the first time I saw one of your layouts of my work put into, you know, like this gorgeous display, it was a wave of reality hitting me. Like, this is a project that I'm working on, and it's so pretty.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
How many pages are you shooting for?
We're going to be around 50 pages, which is, I think about right for a rules light system as opposed to Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, which is 3 250-page books.
Well, the 50 pages in Dungeons and Dragons is all about flanking. It's a book of flanking.
And
complete flanking.
and I can actually speak to what you said though about Ken Hub's layouts. He's done one for me, and it's probably going to be the guy I'm going to turn to, for my next project too. So keep up the good work, Ken Hub. I guess you can come back and sit down. You can have a cookie now. So. So Dennis, Sagas system has already seen a lot of actual plays streamed and posted on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
What makes this system work so well for actual plays? And do you have a favorite game so far, to recommend to our viewers if they wanted to watch an actual play?
Oh man, there's so many good ones. I'll answer your first part of your question first and delay the inevitable of choosing something to send you all to. But Sagas works really, really well for actual plays because a lot of the rules are designed with storytelling in mind. They're not. This is not really a war game. I mean, you could play it that way, and like most TTRPGs, you could technically play it like a war game where you just roll dice and move minis. But Sagas really has a lot of potential for those truly epic moments, for, those amazing team combos to take out the final boss at the end. And we'll go into, I really want to talk about this at some point, but the death and dying mechanics, what happens at 0 health is so cool.
Well, today's as good a time as any. What happens at 0 health?
All right. Here we go. When you reach 0 health in Sagas, you have to make a decision. You either fall unconscious, which is pretty much what it sounds like. You could survive. You can still take damage. You can't really take turns. If you get healed, you're back up on your feet. Classic unconsciousness stuff. With one caveat, when you are healed, you get a wound, and in Sagas, wounds are like status effects and conditions. And the wound is life-threatening injury. And this wound in particular takes 3 rests to heal. So you are walking around with like a shattered leg for 3 days because dropping to 0 health should have an effect on both the story and on your actual mechanics, your ability. You could fall unconscious and have to deal with that. Or you could take your last stand. And essentially what the last stand is you gain this huge power boost. You get extra dice on everything. You do extra damage on everything. But death is certain. There is no way out of it. You can't be healed. You are a ticking clock down to 0 effort and 0 health, at which point you do die. There's no way out of it. This has allowed for some really, really epic storytelling in some of those actual plays.
Now, that's an interesting term used because you said it's a ticking clock. So, do you technically get to finish that final scene, combat, whatever it is, or is there a literal time that you have? Do you have 5 rounds or 10 rounds or something like that to accomplish this task?
It is dependent on how much effort you have. So at the beginning of character creation, I mentioned there was health and effort. Those are the 2 like consumables you have as your character. Health, self-explanatory. Everybody knows what that is. Effort is basically spell slots combined with stamina, combined with mana. It's just everything bundled into one. It's short-term energy. And there's a lot of ways to use it, but with last stand, you need to spend 1 effort at the end of your turn to like keep fighting and stay alive. Once the instant you hit 0 health and 0 effort, you die. That's it. You're done.
Is there any way to replenish your effort like in the middle of a game?
Yes. So normally when you're not in last stand Every single time you fail a check, any check, you gain 1 effort.
Okay.
In Last Stand, though, you can't do that. The only way to regain effort is if people use their action in combat to give you some of their effort through the encourage action.
We had DM tells in chat said I played the Sagas playtest. The Saga playtest I was in, we all got eaten by a cosmic horror as we attempted to flee a cruise ship. It was a blast. That sounds awesome.
Yes, that was Avenue Studios, right? There's been so many playtests now. I wish I had time to watch them all, but there's just like
Yep,
every
they agreed
single
with Avenue
yes.
Studios.
Yeah,
Guys,
no,
if you
that
have
was one of
any-
the ones that's one of the ones that's on my to watch list for sure.
That sounds like hella fun. Guys, if you guys have any questions for Dennis, just please put it in the chat and put question in the front of it so Al knows he'll write it down and we'll ask him at the end of all questions. But that sounds like a blast. So now we're gonna put you on the spot. What actual play do you want to recommend our crowd audience to watch if they want to learn or get a basic idea of how Saga works?
You would ask that question.
We had to double back to it.
All right, so
You can recommend one of your own.
actually have an answer, and that is Pokepocalypse. Pokemon in the post-apocalypse. This one you can find on my YouTube channel. I was the GM for it. We had a great, fantastic cast for this one. But the premise is nuclear Armageddon. This is a nuclear winter. All the humans are dead. All of the Pokemon that they had on them at the time are gone. 90% of the Pokemon that were in the wild are gone. And now, 50 or so years after the bombs fell, the box storage system is failing. And it's spitting and releasing those Pokemon that were stored forever back out into this winter nuclear wasteland. And it was a heart-wrenching story about, you know, being the Pokemon that got left behind by their trainers.
Pokepocalypse. Love it.
That sounds awesome. And you said that's on your channel?
Yes, you can find that on my YouTube channel, Okayest DM.
And should they just look up Pokepocalypse, or would they have to scroll?
Yeah, that should bring up a hit.
All right.
It's
well,
the
you
only
guys
Pokemon thing I've ever done on that channel. So
I doubt that there's many Pokepocalypse.
Well, guys, you heard
I think
it
it's
here.
one of my favorite because that setting is one of the ones I had in mind literally from the beginning of designing this game. Like, if I can't play Pokemon in the post-apocalypse, this is not a universal system. It can't do any setting.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's what we like to hear, because it's just that's the whole thing with Cypher. You can run anything you want. We haven't run into anything yet that doesn't work. So, I mean, this guy here ran us in Walter Hills, the Warriors. Crazy.
Yeah, we not really talk about Cypher. We talk about Saga. So let's go. Let's go back to This is your first project, right?
Yeah, this is my first Kickstarter. It's my first game I've designed. It started out as January of 23. So amid the OGL crisis. Oh, and I like to think of it not as a crisis, but the OGL boom, because that was a cause for the renaissance that we're going through now. Everybody's finally branching away from D&D and exploring in all these new games, and a whole bunch of indie designers are popping up and creating these amazing systems. And Sagas is definitely a part of that. It was during that crisis that I had the idea of, like, what if I just designed my own thing? I don't feel like learning rules for another system. What if I just designed one that, you know, could do anything and was easy to learn? And this was before I realized that, you know, there was Cypher and Fate and GURPS that already could do all these things. But I just started designing, and I nosedived right into that bottomless pit of game design and never looked back.
So, do you have any advice for our audience who want to throw their hat in the ring and trying to design a game system from the ground up? It's a two-part question, right? So, what do you think is the most challenging part in making Sagas? And in the same vein, what has been the most satisfying to you?
The most challenging thing has definitely, without a doubt, been marketing. That is not my vein. And it has been one of the reasons I started doing Sagas was because, you know, I really, really enjoy learning new skills. Like if I'm not actively learning something new, I get bored very easily. So publishing a game required a ton of learning for me. I needed to learn about marketing. I needed to learn about licensing. I needed to learn about game design. I needed to learn about, you know, I needed to hone my skill for running, you know, actual plays and all that stuff. But marketing was definitely the hardest, especially because I can see the results of what does and doesn't work. And there's been so much that didn't work. So it's just been very, very difficult to get this game out there. My advice is don't make something that is like Cypher or like Sagas and can do anything, because that's very hard to market. And what Cypher did was very clever, and I should have copied, but I didn't. Is I believe Cypher was released with a setting attached to it. Is that right?
Originally, Cypher, it really wasn't even Cypher at first. It was Numenera. It was a whole setting, post-apocalyptic, and it was just that. Then The Strange was released, which was kind of Cypher prototype. And then, of course, we got Cypher thereafter.
Right. And that is the process that I should have followed, is to release a game that has a setting to play in, because then I would have like a vibe to sell, some like basis to build off of. But with Sagas, like selling just a concept, like an idea, is much harder to do when it's so wibbly wobbly. Like I don't have a color scheme to put on every single promo. I don't have, a soundtrack to go with every single, it's not going to be death metal every single time, because Sagas can be anything. And that made marketing this very, very difficult. It was a very steep hill and slow climb.
That's very interesting that you chose marketing, and I could definitely see it. But did you know that going in, or was this something that slapped you in the face in the middle of the project?
This is 100% a slap, right? Like halfway through my development, I'm like, cool, game design. This is really fun. I could do this forever. And I'm like, okay, now let's move on to publishing. Yeah, okay, let's learn a little bit about layout. That's too hard. We'll make Ked do it. And now how about marketing? Okay, I got like 50 people or 100 people that are interested in this. How do I put another 0 onto the end of that? It's impossible. It's so hard. And it's such a deep, people get PhDs in this stuff. Like there's so much market out there, and so much has been tried and tested, and because of that, the bar of entry for marketing something new, doesn't matter what it is, marketing in general, the bar is very high.
Yeah, I think that you have a great product, and it's more about getting eyeballs to even see, especially in the gaming space. It's so hard to get noticed, right? It's so hard to get seen, especially if you don't have a 5e logo attached to your project.
Right, exactly. We don't get that little dragon ampersand.
But you have a great project, and you got to do stuff like this, man. You got to, open yourself up to all different types of audiences so they can see this great project, because I think when they'll watch an actual play, they're gonna realize that this looks hella fun. Like, when Ken Hub approached me about doing this and I started researching, I was like, yo, this looks fun. I immediately backed it, and now I'm excited to get my hands on it, because like I said, this is me, Al, and Dean's warehouse. We like to run like different games and all sorts of different settings. We don't like to stick to one setting, and this is tailor made for us. And I'm pretty sure the majority of the Cypher crowd will feel the same way.
Yeah, you know, and
I'm very thankful that I got invited here. It's an honor to be on this stream. I'm been constantly looking for new audiences to sell this to, and you guys are amazing. Let's talk for another 4 hours.
well, I'll say that this is what you got to do is find the other things that work like this. PBTA, go to their pages and throw it up there. Fate, because all of those other places, people who like to run games, obscure, unusual, different, whatever the case may be, will flock to this. Like I said, I had already backed it, didn't even realize I backed it, and you're coming on the show. I'm like, oh, because I went to check out the page when Anthony put. I'm like, oh, I backed this already. Oh yeah, that's why I backed it. So cool.
You know what's weird? And this is not a bash on the 5e crowd, but the 5e, out of all the game systems, right? In my opinion, I could be absolutely wrong, and I'll probably get bashed on the YouTube video. But they least likely to try other games. But every other game system fan base are polygamers. Like whether you're a Powered by Apocalypse player, you're a Cypher player, you're a Fate player, we're more likely to, be like, oh, this is cool, let me try this out. So yeah, Dean has a great point, is try to hit all those other little pockets. We're not as big as the 5e crowds, but we definitely go out and support.
And if we get,
I think it's because the D&D is the most popular one. It's when I'm describing Sagas to someone who doesn't know what a TTRPG is, I'll say it's like D&D but. And that just because I need to use that phrase speaks volumes to how big Dungeons and Dragons is. And a lot of people are like, I'm going to play the popular one and nothing else.
Yeah, and this is very true. But see, the other thing that, you were just talking about, that thing you don't really like to do, marketing. Yeah, they have the ridiculous marketing. They have marketing demons.
Yeah.
Because D&D is everywhere. I mean, I was in the supermarket and I did not know that they had Dungeons and Dragons cereal, Honor Among Thieves. Cereal?
Yeah. A movie will do that. It's insane how wide D&D is spread.
So with all that we're talking about is this stuff, but you guys are only $4,000 away from funding with about 6 days to go. Can you talk about what you get in each split?
4,000, by the way, less than 4,000. They picked up a couple $100 while the stream's been going on. So
absolutely
amazing.
Less than
you 4, guys are awesome.
Less than 4,000. Hey, if the rest of the server looks at this in the next couple of days, you never know. Can you talk about what you get at each pledge level, though? And do you plan to offer physical copies of the project?
So, physical copies. This is my very first Kickstarter. And the piece of advice you gave earlier is look at the stuff that's worked. Look at Powered by the Apocalypse for marketing. Figure out what they're doing that works and copy it. That's what I did for this Kickstarter. Is I started looking. I did my research before deciding I wanted to do a Kickstarter. I looked at what the hiccups are going to be. How do people make this work well? And the biggest horror story is a very, very common one in Kickstarter, and that is physical things in fulfillment after the Kickstarter. We don't actually see that as backers for this stuff, but it can be a nightmare, especially if you don't plan ahead and leave room in the budget for shipping costs and costs to pay the person that's printing it or manufacturing whatever you're making. So I said, you know what? I don't think I'm going to do a physical copy with the Kickstarter. If the Kickstarter funds, though, this is going to be available for print on demand through DriveThruRPG. So they will take care of all of that stuff, and I will never have to worry about it.
That's good.
There is a stretch goal, though, that will unlock physical copies for this. This will also be fulfilled through DriveThruRPG, so they have to deal with all the nasty stuff. But there's a certain stretch goal. I think it's right now still behind Hidden Lock. But there's a stretch goal out there for alternative cover physical copies, and I've got an artist lined up for it. And if we hit that stretch goal, there's going to be an add-on where you can get an alternative cover physical copy that is exclusive to the Kickstarter. So that's the answer to the physical copies. And your other question was about the rewards. So because there's no physical copies, we had to get creative with some of the rewards. There's obviously the lowest one where you get the copy of the game way before it's available on DriveThruRPG, like months beforehand. We'll finish it. We'll still be doing stuff behind the scenes, and we'll start sending it out to backers very early. The 2 tiers above that, you get access to these cool little mini supplements we're doing. They're gonna be like 5 to 10 pages, and they are going to be settings and adventures. We've got 3 of them are settings, 2 of them are adventures, and they've all been play tested already. A couple of them several times. So we have not actually started writing those yet, but those are going to be part of the reward once the Kickstarter winds up. After that, there's chances to play in games that are run by me. And after that, at the highest tier, is the ability to get your own monster or original character into one of these books, maybe even the core rule book itself.
Oh, that's awesome.
I love working with people, and they have way cooler ideas than I could ever conceive. So,
yeah, and there's only 6 days left to go, guys, unless I'm mistaken. So if you have it, please go check it out. It's only $20, and you're gonna get a full, complete game. So yeah, just go check it out. Sagas on Kickstarter. We have the link spreading right now, and of course we'll have the link on the YouTube channel in the description box to go check it out as well. You know, me and Dean both backed. I'm pretty sure Al's gonna back it. And once this project fulfills, because it will, once it fulfills, we're definitely going to have you back on to run to see you boys in the game, because we definitely into Gonzo gameplay, and this sounds like we could definitely get some cool Gonzo game going.
Right. Absolutely. I'm so down for this. I got to go watch some actual plays now, you know, and maybe even change my pledge level. I don't know yet.
So we've done a lot of actual plays. We've done, I think we're coming up on like not the ones that I've done, the ones that other channels have done, because I've done close to 40 now, and I think other channels are starting to get there too. Like we've actually have a list here somewhere, and I'm publishing a short about it tomorrow morning. But we've got This Crits YouTube channel. We've got Just the Human, Talking XP, That's How We Roll, Mistress Winter's Court, Pantsless Tables, Lost Caravan, Churney Adventures, Cybernation Uncensored, Roll D5, Avenue Studios, which we mentioned before, Constructed Chaos, Tavernaut, Robert Hartley GM, The Quest Board, Wanderer's Haven, and more are on the way. Those are just the ones that have been played already. So there's a lot of people that are getting their hands on this thing.
Do you have any other information you'd like to share about Saga, the Saga project, or yourself with the Cypher Unlimited community?
I want to share everything. I just want to go on a 2-hour spiel about my lovely little creation, but I respect your time, and I think the last thing I'll have to say is thank you for having me on this. Like that's what I want to spend my last moments here. I think we're wrapping up. That was a wrap it up question, right?
I mean, that's a wrap it up for our regular questions, but then we have our world famous rapid fire questions. I don't know if you're ready.
That's right. That's okay. All right.
And it has nothing to do with flanking. There's no flanking involved in these rapid fire questions, so you don't have to worry. Ancient Albatross, our very own Al, has a question he would like to ask you. He said, are there any rules for things like mechs and vehicles to do something like Power Rangers?
Yes. In fact, Arclight Court, who's the Power Ranger guy in TTRPGs. I haven't seen him do anything other than Power Rangers, and he's got his own channel. He's run on other channels. He pretty early on was messaged me and was like, "Hey, I'd like to run a Power Rangers game. How would that work?" And I'm like, "Let's make it work." And so there's one really cool thing about the game is that if it's not already in there, there are very simple guidelines to make it. And mechs are one of the ones that I've had to actually scratch my head a little bit for creating, but when the final game comes out, there are going to be mechs available as like pieces of equipment with 1 pilot, 2 pilot, because there's, do we want to do like a Pacific Rim thing, or do we want to do a Power Rangers thing, or do we want to do a Evangelion thing? Like I need to be able to Voltron, yeah. But there's going to be we'll have mechs in there. They're not in any of the publicly available versions right now. We're still working on putting those together, but those will be in there as equipment. So you can take a mech as a piece of equipment.
That sounds awesome. There's one more question that Alvin put in, but I saw in chat. Someone asked, are you going to have a sample of play, like how to play the game? And are you going to have a GM section in the book as well?
So originally, we were going to have the GM's guide as like a separate publication. We nixed that idea and have wrapped up all of the GM tips into the actual core rulebook itself. The first, 3 pages or so are, this is what the game is and here's how to run it, is like the first 3 pages. And after that, it gets into the actual rules of the game and character creation. And it's not just, here's how to run Sagas, but a lot of the advice in those first couple pages is what I have learned through all of my years running TTRPGs for a wide variety of different players. And the pieces of advice that I think are the best and have been the most well received by my community are the ones that are making it into the book.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Dean.
No, I was just saying that's all really cool. I'm really more and more excited. Like I said, I saw the Kickstarter. I backed it, and it just looked cool. But now we're sitting here talking about it, and it just gets cooler. I wish, in a lot of respects, you could do that with most games. So it's really nice to have you on. Thanks for coming out, Dennis.
Thanks, man.
We asked all these questions. We asked the cookie cutter questions. Now's the time for our rapid fire questions, Dennis. Here's the part in the show where we dig deep into your soul, right? We pull out your essence and we stretch it on the table for the whole world to see. Are you ready for the Cypher Unlimited world famous rapid fire questions?
Not after that description, but let's go.
Question 1. Player or GM?
GM.
Question 2, pull punches or TPK?
TPK every single time.
Oh, nice. That's because you've been traumatized as a child.
It happened to me, and it needs to happen to everybody else.
Online or in-person gaming?
Online.
Ooh.
Nice, okay. Announce the difficulty number or keep it a secret?
Secret.
Salty or sweet snacks at the gaming table?
Doesn't matter as long as it's quiet.
Ooh. Oh, you mean you don't like the crunchy Doritos in the middle of the
Look, most of the games I play nowadays are done with mics in front of us, and they do not sound good on re-listening.
RP or combat?
RP.
PDFs or physical books?
Physical books, but I haven't been sticking to that.
Pen and paper or digital notes?
Digital notes. I type so much faster.
Oh. We know the answer to this. Pre-written adventures or original content?
I haven't run a pre-written adventure in a decade.
I say this all the time, but we have yet to have a game designer come on the show and say pre-written adventures.
Gotta say, not surprised.
So, and here, you made it through the rapid fire questions. Congratulations, first of all. You made it with everything still intact. But, now I just have to throw a piece of salt on there because there's a contradiction here. You want to TPK the party, but you like RP.
That's correct.
You never seen
TPKs lead to the best RP. That's the only way to continue the story afterwards. You can't keep doing combat after a TPK.
Yeah, I know, I love it. I just had to throw it to see if you had the right connection there.
Oh yeah, you said rapid fire, and I thought these were going to be questions that I hadn't thought about before. These have had several hours of deep contemplative thought behind the scenes. It's not like I'm answering these truly off the cuff.
So that's why they're rapid fire, because I think most GMs think about this stuff on some level there or another.
You did give us an answer we've never gotten before. In the salty sweet stack, you said as long as it's quiet. We never had that answer before.
Never had that one.
Well, that's I cheated a little bit because you gave that one to me as an example like 2 days ago. So that one I had locked and loaded.
Oh, we got to remember when we invite Dennis over to play an actual game in person, no beer and pretzels. No pretzels at the table for Dennis.
Look, I'm giving everybody's gonna have beer that they drink through straws. And
no glasses hitting the table, on the table at all times.
And the straws have holes in it, so they slurp every time. Everybody's getting a big bag of Cheetos and kettle cooked potato chips. Exactly. So listen, once again, Dennis, I want to thank you before we get out of here, before we let Anthony do his spiel and talk to the rest of the masses out there who might be watching. Just want to thank you so much for coming on the show. This was a blast. I'm very excited about your game and to get my hands on it. I know Anthony's excited about it. Al will probably be like jumping on the bandwagon too, because you should have seen it with Mort Borg. So, welcome and thanks again for showing up. And
like I said, guys, there's only 6 days left. If you haven't, go check it out. Whether you want to purchase it or not, at least give it a chance. Take a look and see what it's all about. There's a very cool video explaining the concept, and there's also another cool video on the Kickstarter page of an actual play, so you can actually see the game in action and see if it's for you. There's only 6 days left. It's on 4K away from complete fulfillment. And let's not only hit that 4K, but let's hit a stretch goal or 2. I'm really excited to see this project go. So, yeah, go to the page, guys, if you can. If you're watching this on YouTube, go. There's only 6 days left, and we want to back this. Because not only is Dennis a great person, he has a great game, and I want more people to experience it.
Thank you both so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure and an honor to chat with you today.
If you like us and you like what we do, join the Discord server for all things Money Cook Games. We have the largest fan-run Discord server for everything MCG, with over 6,000 members and growing. There's actual plays being played. There's great conversations being had, giveaways, all sorts of wonderful things happening. But if Discord's not for you, join our Facebook group. It's not as big as our Discord, but there's still great conversations being had. You could, if you want to support us in some way, give us a sub here on Twitch or go to our YouTube channel and like, share, and subscribe there. We're still trying to grow both platforms, and it'll be greatly appreciated. Our videos are always free, but if you want to support us some way financially, give us a little donation on Ko-fi. Or go to our online store and pick up some cool Cypher Unlimited merch like that shirt D got on or the hat I got on. And last but not least, we love you guys.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for stopping by. This has been a blast as usual. So, but like I've been saying in the chat, I'm gonna back this as soon as we're done here. And if you haven't checked it out and backed it, be sure to at least check it out, like Anthony said. And if you like what you see, back it up. And yeah, it definitely sounds like it's good, especially with mechs on the way. Oh man, I'm so pumped. But either way, have a great night, everyone. And as usual, from us at the CU, we will see you later. Peace.
Bye, guys.
See you later, everybody.